90-Day Fiancé friends, please watch the full video and please subscribe. Gino Palazzolo sat at his kitchen table, rubbing his temples as he tried to process the chaos that had become his life. Jasmine Pineda, his fiery and unpredictable fiancée, was pacing back and forth in their Michigan apartment, her arms flailing as she ranted about their latest argument. "You never listen to me, Gino, never," Jasmine shouted, her voice echoing through the small space. "I left my entire life in Panama to be here with you, and all I get is stress." Gino sighed, adjusting his ever-present hat. "Jasmine, I do listen, but you're always so." He stopped himself, knowing that calling her dramatic would only make things worse. "You're always so passionate about things, and sometimes I don't know how to respond." "Passionate?" she scoffed, throwing her hands in the air. "I am passionate because I care, but your family, they don't even try to welcome me." And there it was the real issue. Gino's family had been less than warm toward Jasmine since her arrival. His cousin Dana had been skeptical from the start, often voicing concerns that Jasmine was using Gino for a green card. His sister, Maria, had also been distant, never outright rude, but always keeping her guard up. But now things had changed. Jasmine stopped pacing and turned to Gino, her face softening. "You need to talk to them, Gino. Tell them to stop treating me like an outsider. I'm your fiancé. I deserve respect." Gino knew she was right, but deep down, he feared what his family might say. A week later, Gino sat in his mother's living room, nervously sipping on a cup of coffee. His mother, Linda, watched him closely, sensing the tension in his shoulders. "So, what's on your mind, sweetheart?" she asked gently. Gino exhaled. "It's Jasmine. She feels like the family doesn't like her." Linda sighed, stirring her tea. "I'll admit we've been cautious, but Gino, you have to understand, we just want what's best for you." "I know, Mom, but Jasmine isn't a bad person. She's just intense." Linda chuckled. "That's one way to put it." Then something unexpected happened. Linda leaned forward, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I've actually been thinking a lot about Jasmine. At first, I was hesitant, but I see how much she loves you. She's fiery, yes, but she fights so hard for your relationship. That means something." Gino blinked, stunned. "So, you're saying you support us?" Linda nodded. "I do, and I think it's time the rest of the family does too." The next family gathering was tense at first. Jasmine walked in, dressed to impress in a fitted red dress, her hair styled to perfection. But despite her efforts, she still felt the weight of their judgmental eyes. Maria was the first to speak. "So, Jasmine, how are you adjusting?" Jasmine smiled, though it was forced. "It's been challenging, but I'm doing my best." Dana, who had always been the most skeptical, crossed his arms. "Are you sure you're here for the right reasons?" Jasmine's jaw clenched. I love Gino. I wouldn't uproot my entire life if I didn't. Linda, noticing the tension, quickly intervened. Dana, enough. Jasmine has proven her dedication. She turned to Jasmine with a warm smile. We've talked, and I want you to know you're family now. Jasmine's eyes widened, tears threatening to spill. Really? Linda nodded. Really? Just as Jasmine began to feel accepted, life threw another curveball. Financial stress hit the couple hard, with Jasmine struggling to find a job and Gino's savings dwindling. One night, after a particularly heated argument over money, Jasmine packed her bags. Maybe I should just go back to Panama, she said, her voice cracking. Maybe your family was right about me. Gino panicked. No, Jasmine, please. We'll figure this out. To his surprise, it wasn't just him pleading for her to stay. Linda showed up the next day, along with Maria and even Dana. We've got your back, Linda assured Jasmine. You're part of this family now, and we're not letting you go that easily. For the first time since arriving in Michigan, Jasmine truly felt at home. As weeks passed, things slowly improved. Jasmine found a part-time job, Gino worked extra hours, and their relationship strengthened. The most shocking part? Dana and Maria began to genuinely like Jasmine. One evening, as they all sat around the dinner table, Maria raised her glass. To Jasmine, the sister-in-law I never expected to like, but I do. Laughter erupted, and Jasmine wiped away happy tears. She had fought hard for Gino's love, but now she had won something even more valuable: his family's acceptance. Gino Palazzolo sat in the dimly lit kitchen of his Michigan home, his fingers tapping against the wood grain of the dining table. The weight of his world pressed heavily on his shoulders. Across from him, Jasmine Pinda's dark eyes burned with frustration as she struggled to hold back tears. This is not the life I imagined, Gino, she said, her voice trembling. I left my country, my family, my job, everything, for you, and now your family thinks I'm the enemy. Gino exhaled slowly. He knew she was right. His family had not been welcoming, and Jasmine, with her fiery personality, hadn't exactly made things easier. Babe, it's not that they hate you, he said cautiously. They don't understand you. Jasmine scoffed, standing up abruptly. No, they don't want to understand me, your cousin Dana, your sister Maria, even your mom. They've already made up their minds about me. They think I'm some gold digger who's using you. Gino sighed. His family had expressed their concerns ever since he first introduced Jasmine to them. They had scrutinized her every move, questioned her intentions, and assumed the worst. I'll talk to them, he said, though he wasn't sure how much good it would do. Jasmine crossed her arms. You've said that before, Gino, and yet nothing changes. She stormed off to their bedroom, leaving Gino alone with his thoughts. He knew something had to give. The Palazzolo family had always been close. Every Sunday they gathered at Gino's mother's house for dinner, a tradition that had remained unbroken for decades. But ever since Jasmine entered the picture, the atmosphere at these dinners had changed. Linda Palazzolo, Gino's mother, had always been skeptical of Jasmine. While she wasn't outright hostile, she made it clear that she had her reservations. "I just don't want to see my son get hurt," she had told Maria and Dana one evening. "He's always been too trusting." Maria, ever the protective sister, nodded. "I don't trust her, Mom. She's too emotional, too demanding, and now she's pressuring Gino about marriage, money, and babies. It's too much." Dana, Gino's cousin, who had always been vocal about his disapproval, leaned back in his chair. "She's controlling him, simple as that. The man can't even breathe without Jasmine checking his phone." Linda sighed. "Maybe, but Gino loves her, and that means we need to figure out where we stand." A few days later, Gino invited his mother over for coffee. Jasmine had gone out for a walk, giving them some rare time alone. "Ma," Gino began hesitantly, stirring his coffee. "Jasmine feels like you guys don't like her." Linda looked up, her expression unreadable. "It's not about liking or disliking her, Gino. It's about making sure you're happy. And to be honest, we haven't been convinced that she's the right one for you." Gino sighed. "I know she has a strong personality. I know she can be intense. But she's been through a lot. She had a tough life in Panama, Ma, and she's scared." Linda's gaze softened slightly. "Scared of what?" "Of losing me, of not being enough, of feeling alone here." Linda took a long sip of her tea, processing Gino's words. "You really love her, don't you?" Gino nodded. "Yeah, I do, and I need you to give her a real chance." Linda exhaled slowly. "All right, I'll try, but she has to meet me halfway." The following Sunday, Jasmine hesitated outside Linda's house. She had considered skipping dinner altogether, but Gino had convinced her to come. Inside, the tension was palpable at first. Maria and Dana exchanged skeptical glances, and Jasmine felt like an outsider in the very place she was supposed to call home. But something shifted when Linda sat next to her. "I know we've had our differences," Linda began, looking at Jasmine carefully. "But I'd like to understand you better." Jasmine, caught off guard, blinked. "Really?" Linda nodded. "Gino loves you, and if you love him, then we should at least try to get along." Jasmine took a deep breath. "I do love him, more than anything." Maria still looked unconvinced, but Dana, surprisingly, leaned forward. "So, Jasmine, tell me, what do you see in my cousin?" Jasmine, uncharacteristically nervous, hesitated. Then, with honesty, she answered, Gino is the first person who has ever truly believed in me. He's patient, kind, and even when I'm at my worst, he still chooses me." For the first time, Dana and Maria seemed to really listen. Just as things started improving, life threw a new challenge at them. Jasmine had been struggling to find a job in Michigan. Between visa restrictions and cultural adjustments, she felt increasingly dependent on Gino, a situation she hated. One evening, she came home in tears. "I feel useless, Gino," she admitted. "I hate relying on you for everything." Before Gino could respond, his phone rang. It was Linda. "Come over," she said simply. "Bring Jasmine." Confused but hopeful, they drove to Linda's house. When they arrived, Linda handed Jasmine a business card. "It's a friend of mine. She runs a bilingual education program and is looking for someone who speaks Spanish." Jasmine's eyes widened. You did this for me?" Linda smiled. "I told you, I'm trying." Jasmine hugged her tightly, surprising even herself. Dana and Maria were still a bit skeptical, but they couldn't ignore the change in Jasmine. She started working part-time, feeling more independent. She and Linda had lunch together every other week. Even Dana, the harshest critic, had to admit he was warming up to her. One night at dinner, Maria raised her glass. "To Jasmine," she said, "for proving us wrong." Jasmine, overwhelmed with emotion, clinked her glass. "Thank you. That means more than you know." It hadn't been easy, but Jasmine had done it. She had won over Gino's family, not by changing who she was, but by showing them her heart. Gino looked around the dinner table, a smile spreading across his face. For the first time in a long time, he felt at peace. And for Jasmine, the girl who had once felt so alone, she finally had the one thing she had been missing all along.